This is a few thoughts and a few observations I've made during the last couple of years. I do support ongoing portfolio transformations or ongoing transformations with a focus on the portfolio, and sometimes I help starting the transformation or the portfolio implementation. So a couple of things I've seen, and yes, I did add a couple of do's as well. Don't you think it's easier to look at things from deviations? It's like, hey, here's a black swan, let's act, right? But we're not really sure what to do. There is no recipes coming from me whatsoever tonight, just suggestions and ideas. But first of all, let's use, if I get this running, I do state this pretty often. I've said it many times before, but we're talking about process, right? We're talking about policies. We're talking about ways of working. They are not consumed. Surprise, right? They might not be of value as long as you and we don't produce consumable value in the form of outcome, right? So we struggle a lot and talk a lot about it, and yes, guilty as charged. But the target must be to produce consumable or deliverable value, right? So just a reminder, and I keep reminding myself that as well in conversations about LPM, about how to achieve flow and whatnot. What is flowing through the system? Often, what's flowing through the system starts on an island. And the island is sometimes a real island, yes. I've met people that fly out to islands and define the company strategy for the upcoming 3 to 5 years. Together with other very nice and knowledgeable consultancy companies often. Yeah, right? So they come back with a strategy and people start executing that. And I see that happening today still. It might not be on the Maldives, but it is away from people who do the work. And where are people doing the work? Closer to the customer than sometimes this management people are. This is an issue, right? Do you recognize this strategy, that where there is a disconnect from things that you know, from things that your customers experience? Well, I see that. And the portfolio is a place, the lean portfolio is a place to meet up and collaborate on strategy. A couple of do's. How do we do this? I'm not going to talk through them, but one thing that I think is a good way to start is a technique. It's like the reason for you starting using Jira or Rally or something was that you wanted something to hold on to make sure that you were process adherent or something like that. And I give you this, OKRs is that. It is just a process. It's a way to start a conversation. And when we do this, when translating the enterprise strategy to conversationable and some sort of actionable items. Yes, we can connect items, actionable items to objectives and key results. Your conversation starts there. This is where you can be inclusive rather than exclusive in your strategy development. Because guess what? If you think it's hard now, and then you're going to do it more and more and more often. Short-term strategy is for many large organizations a survival factor today, which means that we need to do these discussions more and more often. So start exercising your muscles, start connecting the dots. Don't let this be just a C-level event. We do create a lot of portfolios, but I just see shiny silos, my friends. There are no reasons except that there are power structures. So we are often, what I see, is repeating power structures of yesterday into something that is supposed to support the future of the company. Yeah? It scares me, because I do care about companies I interact with. So, this is just me talking, but my message is always aim for one portfolio. Have good reasons to start others. Probably you're acting in different markets, you have products that never meet or whatnot. But power structures, not a good reason. Well, not a good reason enough, at least. Yeah, take that fight, but with empathy, of course. And understanding that these power structures created the budget that you have today, the market that you have today. So that's why we have to sort of also be friendly, right? From a portfolio perspective, I noticed that I often use for myself the word the locals. But from a portfolio perspective, what we do locally in arts and value streams and sometimes even solution trains is local. They are locals. They know their context, they know their landscape. My map will never be better than their knowledge of their territory, right? So that's the thinking I have when I talk about how do we decentralize decision making. And if we don't have several portfolios or power structures, won't there be many important decisions to be made? About roadmaps, of course, but also about investments and suppliers and whatnot to deliver that solution that your art delivers, or value stream, or whatever you have. Of course. But the point is, an empowered product management, that's their job. So when I visit this organization that I'm thinking about here, I see product managers that are backlog secretaries for large endeavors, and that's just sad. So an advice from me is start empowering your product managers and install trust in the organization, because you have a recipient that can handle you not taking responsibility of the next step into the future of the solution from a portfolio perspective. There's a lot of super interesting discussions about small things going on in our portfolio syncs, in our portfolio events, and even in our strategy meetings. They are super important, right? And when we start discussing the small things, oh my God, just when I was looking for an image to support this message, it was like ants. And then I disappeared for an hour. That was actually last night. Because, oh my God, there are many ants. Yeah? But what is fascinating about the ants are not what types there are. It's their ability to build a larger society, right? And there's a lot to read about ants building societies, both supporting the infrastructure and actually reaching out to new territories to find better food and whatnot. But they're all trusted. They communicate a lot. In the portfolio I'm thinking about here, which might be many or one, we are talking about very small things. Some things you would call features, recognize that word, right? And they end up here and they're not moving anything forward. Problem is, we don't have time to guide the big elephants. The elephants are of great mass, wise animals, cover a lot of distance, and in our organization, they might be our future business. But no, we're talking about different kinds of ants, and one of the reasons for the portfolio is just to be there and guide the elephants from one waterhole to the next so that they will survive. I think that there is one thing I'm going to say here, and I really do think this is important. There is a threshold. You have it. You all have it in your organizations. Please talk to your manager if you're going to do anything that is costly. And I was talking to one organization the other day, and they said that my limit for bringing things into our portfolio, it's 100,000 kronor. So I divide 100,000 kronor with the number of work hours and how they think about what the work hour costs. That's 100 hours. An endeavor of 100 hours, you're going to bring that to the portfolio? No, rise that and rise it again and rise it again. And then lower the sum or the time if it becomes dangerous or weird, if you're doing mistakes in a serial manner. But it's safe enough to do. Don't make things that is without significance a conversation item. We're trying to establish the portfolio collaboration as a place where we make important decisions serially. We're not making a decision one-off, but serially. We're meeting up and making decisions, and we're trying to install trust in that our ability to make decisions. You're removing that trust if you keep discussing ants and not guiding elephants.
Here we go, pivot! 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 Shut up! Shut up! Shut up! Okay, I don't think it's gonna pivot anymore. You think?
This is us not listening to signals saying, don't do this. Stop throwing, as we usually say, boring statement today, but stop throwing good money after bad. Listen to the signals from your organization. If you are working in your product or solution development with hypothesis-driven epics or initiatives, why don't we listen to the signals saying, hey, nobody will want this? This is not new. It's not something that we need to learn. It's something that we've done in business development for ages and ages and ages. Now we're trying to relearn that backwards, because now we're digital and the people I ask to do things, they know more shit than me. So we're forgetting that this is how our companies and organizations in the public sector became successful. So listen as early as you can. Stop doing things that is unnecessary, that I don't want as a customer. We are often working in a system without limits. It is not allowed to leave your car. Never leave your car. Never leave an ongoing initiative. Right? Isn't that the guidance? You can't stop doing what you're doing. But the problem is, this is just a system of must do. There is no choice in this one. Just as in your Kanban boards for the portfolio. Because if we're seeing a Kanban board or any kind of system that is unlimited, there will also be unlimited intake. And in all the stages of the backlog will just drive more and more work. So there is such an easy remedy that is recommended by everybody, as long as we've managed flow, is to put WIP limits, to limit the things that we need to do in each stage or each day, or don't take in too much and govern the flow, right? So just a very simple message that you all know. Install the WIP limits. Go home and do it now. It's not dangerous. You have a WIP limit already. That's your current amount of work. Then we work with empathy to lower that or to adjust it to reality. You know, we don't move people to the work anymore. We move work to the people. We have stable teams, stable art, stable value streams as far as we can know into the future. But why do we think that Epic owners are something different? You have Epic owners that are perhaps project managers, program managers, and a different perspective. Do whatever you like, but If you have a central station for the Epic owners in your organization, and they're sitting there waiting for somebody to call them to bring them to the work, isn't that counterintuitive? To me it is. It's just putting a lean and agile perspective of Epic owners. My thinking regarding Epic owners, well, usually the people bringing the idea to the table. Hey, I want us to do this. Great. We have time, availability. If you want to do it, help us invest in that with your thoughts, your ideas. And then, of course, the natural thing would be that the recipient of work, which would be the value streams, people there doing 80-90% of the work for that Epic, that sounds a lot to me like Epic ownership. We learned all the practices, and now we are using them, but the other ones don't, and we're really good at our LPM work. We're not really letting people in anymore. We have seen that, I have a lot of insight in what you're talking about today in your sync meeting, I think. Yeah, but you're not a part of our group. For real. A place that started and still is a place and space for collaboration about hard things. And we are excluding people. Stop excluding people. Be brave. Invite people with different ideas, different views, and perhaps different knowledge. To make sure that this is not as that disruptive, and that you are not the new ivory tower of organizations as architecture once was. Start a COP, a community of practice, share your ideas, open up for questioning, why don't I feel different now when we moved from traditional command and control management to a flow-oriented system? Why is that not different to me? An exactly perfect way to start a conversation in a community of practice. This is where we know how much empathy we need to show to components of the system, people, and business areas, whatnot. But open up and focus on visibility so we know where we are. So we've been struggling, and when I visit portfolios, they've been struggling to remove old policies and processes and tools and whatnot, and they're doing great. The journey has been amazing. They have created an understanding for removing governance structures for maintenance and development, such as PM3 and whatnot, and it's gone now. And Emanuel, we're doing great. Cool. And then I do a couple of empathy interviews in the organization, and the organization don't think so. Weird. Isn't it perhaps that we move from one runestone, which is the old policies, to learning how to draw a different pattern? And now we're so good at that we don't want to change that one, right? We learned it, we owned it, we created alignment, and it's beneficial to the organization. So why change? Well, they might not be liked. They might not do the job anymore. Because guess what? We did this because the market and the world changed too fast for us, and it's still changing too fast for us. So we need to update this. We want to relentlessly improve, as we say, and we agreed on. It's some kind of, value that we share. But still, no, we're going to continue protect our new runestones. So, thank you. That was it.